Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Tag Talk. My name is Kiley. This is Haley, and it's been a fun week in wrestling. I think we had a lot of stuff go on. We had WWE Survivor Series. We had the Elite wrestling in Chicago, which was an interesting time. There's a lot of news at AEW, FTR, Top Flight, Dark Order, so many things. House of Black, totally forgot about that. So we have a lot to talk about. But while we wait for you guys to trickle in, we'll talk about being the Elite because everybody loves being the Elite. So Haley, what did you think about this week's Being the Elite?
I liked it. I think my favorite part of it was the end little scene. They're like little I'm thankful for. Yeah. I love Nick being like, I'm thankful for the sandwich that I made. I just thought that was really funny. But I always love like the little backstage segments and stuff before they like in Gorilla before they go out. And I thought this week's was funny. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy BT though. What do you think?
I thought it was really interesting. Like at the beginning of the episode, they said, we're going to Chicago. We don't really know what's going to happen. People are going to love us. People are going to hate us. But you know what? We're going to show up and we're just going to wing it. And then, of course, as we all saw, it ended up being like a chaotic thing. Hello to our good friend, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
We love Jackie. But anyway, I thought Being the Elite was a lot of fun. I liked that they intentionally put in the "fuck the Elite" chant last week.
I noticed that.
We all know what happened last week. So Being the Elite was a lot of fun, and for everybody just joining us, we're just chatting about Being the Elite. We're going to talk today. We're going to talk about Survivor Series and news coming out of Survivor Series. We're going to talk about AEW, particularly Death Triangle, the Elite, Dark Order, all the new story stuff going on. Maybe a little bit of FTR, maybe a little Top Flight. We're just going to have a fun time today with all of you guys. If you want your question, your comment, your statement, your opinion read on the air, make sure to submit a super chat, and we will read every single super chat, just like we do every week. But yeah, Being the Elite was fun this week. I think it's a little weird that we didn't get a bunch of Dark Order, but that it is what it is.
But you know what we did get? Best Friends in Danhausen.
I'm so excited about this Danhausen turn.
I know.
And I don't know where they're going with it, what they're going to do with it, but I think I've said it before on Tag Talk. I really hope they bring in Hook again and have Hook be like, dude, what the heck? Like, what are you doing, dude?
What's going on?
And Hook says more words than he ever has just to like tell Danhausen he's mad at him. So good.
I'd pop. I'd love it so much.
So should we stick with AEW or do you want to do our Survivor Series review? Because we have a lot of thoughts about Survivor Series, guys.
Yeah, I think we should, because we were talking about it a bit before we went live. I think that we should just get out of the way.
Okay, well, we have a super chat from Ryan, and it is a dad joke. Dad joke time. Okay, Ryan says, I watched this awesome show called Origami Wrestling yesterday. It was on pay-per-view.
Oh, I was like doing this because listen, I love that.
That was a good one. I like to think that he had that prepared. And he was just like, okay, I got to type it in. No, that was a good one. That was a lot better than some of the ones last week, but thank you for the super chat. And just as always, guys, super chats, we will read every single one. I don't know what you said. Did you say you want to do Survivor Series?
Yeah, I said I think we should just get out of the way because we were talking or chatting about it a little bit before we went live.
Yeah, so Survivor Series happened. It was Survivor Series War Games, the first Survivor Series of the Triple H era. And it was like, to me, at least, the entire show was kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there's a lot of people who really, really enjoyed it, which if you did, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally allowed to enjoy it. I think War Games is a lot of fun. I just, like, coming out of the show, I'm like, there's a lot of creative deficiencies outside of the bloodline. And I'm worried for Royal Rumble.
For me, so War Games is always one of my favorite concepts. I love it in NXT. I was super hopeful for it here. especially with Triple H kind of helming that. To me, it was kind of like weak though. Like I don't know. The men's was good. I think that there were some flaws with the women though. I did enjoy it, but it was, eh.
So for people, because Jackie's saying in the chat she didn't see the show. So we started with the women's War Games match, and the teams were pretty cool. It was like a lot of big stars in the women's division, and where I really took issue with it, and I told Haley this before, it was very much like just a spot. Like, okay, these people are going to come over here and do this spot, and then everyone else is just going to lay around. And
there was a lot of standing around.
Do either like sell something or do a hold or just like feed some punches, whatever. And it was like very disjointed because of that, at least in my interpretation of the match. And I didn't like the finish. For those of you who didn't see it, basically Becky Lynch did, I think it was an elbow off the top rope onto the women's tag champions who were on a table, and that was the finish of the match. Team Becky, which was actually Team Bianca, won the match. I didn't like that finish. I didn't like that we have one women's tag team in the division, and then they're the champions and they're getting pinned. And I just thought the match was like, like in AEW, and like I'm not a tribal girly. I don't like doing these comparisons, but I think comparing this to Blood and Guts is fine. In Blood and Guts, it's very much chaotic, and like you get a lot of cameras like running around trying to catch things, and everyone's doing their own stuff, and you're getting different viewpoints and vantage points and all that sort of stuff. And we didn't get that here. Damage Control took the L, and they took the L the entire match basically, and I was just not into that.
Yeah, I do think that it felt a little abrupt towards the end. I have like mixed feelings about the finish. Obviously, they finished out the storyline from SummerSlam, whatever. But I do think this was an opportunity, and I know that you had said this. I think you texted it to me, but I know you also tweeted it, for Rhea to pin Becky.
Yeah.
Because I think out of all of the women in the match, I mean, you can't argue that Rhea is physically the most imposing. But yeah, I just think I wanted something more interesting out of it, I guess. But I love Dakota. She was taking a lot of the bumps in this match. And she's one of the more like skilled in this type of setting. So we love a queen, but it was what it was.
No, and we got this standoff with Rhea and Becky when Becky first came into the match, and people were tweeting like, "Oh wow, we could get a really good singles program out of this." And what a way to get Rhea over than have her pin Becky in War Games. Like that would have been major. And Chris, our adopted dad with a super chat, says Rhea should have gotten the pin. In my opinion, I definitely agree. She, of everyone in there, and I'm including Bianca in this, I think she has the most potential to grow in 2023. Bianca's very much solidified in her role. Like I don't think there's really anywhere else for her to go. So I think Bianca losing doesn't hurt her as much as Rhea and Damage Control not winning hurts them. I think that was just like a bad booking decision not to have the heels win it. And I really think Rhea pinning Becky or pinning anyone, we'll just say pinning anyone in this match would have done wonders for her on a stage this big. And I don't know why we didn't go there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the whole thing with Damage Control continuously taking L's, it really bothers me. And we've said it countless times that the women's tag division in WWE needs a lot of work. And they've been kind of hot potatoing those titles. I don't know. I think at this point, like, what do you do with Damage Control? Like, do we break them up? What do we do?
I don't know. And it's really weird because we got that report that Sasha Banks, like, what's holding up her return is money, essentially, which I'm not sure about the validity or accuracy of that report in its whole. But I think it's a little weird that, like, the women's tag division has very slowly in the Triple H era dissolved, despite the fact that Triple H was the one who brought Damage Control in at SummerSlam. And the entire division has just been like slowly devolving, teams leaving, coming and going. And it's like Damage Control is just there. And this is what, and I think you and I had talked about this when the Triple H era started. We were basically like, you know, you guys, a lot of people were really excited, understandably, to have a new creative regime. But like, I was apprehensive because I watched Black and Gold and I know a lot of Triple H's weaknesses. And we're seeing those really on display. And I think what made Survivor Series a weaker show for me compared to other shows Triple H has done is because of his tendencies to book things like this and just, you know, think that he can recover quickly from things like this. A super chat from Ryan, not a joke. They need to do some damage control on Damage Control. Thank you for the super chat. And I think you're right. I think Triple H thinks that he can just bounce back from anything and that the talent can bounce back from anything because it worked a couple times in NXT. But like, NXT is the small little niche audience, a lot of whom are watching AEW now. And then you have this WWE audience who doesn't know and they don't care. They don't sit on Twitter and talk theories and fantasy book and watch tag talk. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, for me, this entire show, and we'll talk about this later with Theory and Ronda Rousey, it's just like, oh, I just want to grab Triple H and shake him. Just like, what are we doing?
I did like seeing Alexa in this environment, though. I was upset that we weren't getting Candice. There were reports about an injury with her, and that's why she couldn't take part in War Games. But I did like seeing Alexa in this kind of new environment that we haven't seen her in before.
No, I definitely agree. And I think a lot of people really did anticipate Alexa Bliss having a heel turn in this match, and it didn't happen. I anticipated it, and I thought maybe because they weren't getting the win, maybe because of like this Alexa Bliss heel turn was going to happen after the baby faces won. It didn't. Maybe it'll happen on Raw or SmackDown this week. Maybe she's going to do something funny. I don't know. But it's just weird to me. The entire match was weird. It was like poorly booked. It didn't feel like War Games. It felt just like a wrestling match with a bunch of people in it. And I didn't like, and you know, people were like, she's unhinged. Of course she's going to do that. I didn't like that Nikki Cross took like 30 years to throw all these trash can lids into the ring and then decided to whip people with her jacket. Don't know who made that decision. It was dumb. But anyway, and Nikki Cross would just like lay down and then do a big spot and lay down and do a big spot and lay down. It completely took me out of the match. I'm sorry. And the damage control getting beat, that was not for me either. I don't know.
I mean, Io Sky, though, she was kind of like a bright spot in this entire match. I loved the trash can spot from the previous War Games that we got. I loved that.
And she did that moonsault off the top, which really a lot of people were saying, why isn't there a lid on the War Games? But I think we got a ton of spots off the top, so I think that's probably why. And I was scared for a minute because Bianca, like, the way Io took the moonsault, like, Bianca landed weird, and I was like, oh, no.
I was like,
oh, no.
Injured. Oh, no.
If Bianca's injured, the women's division is, like,
toast.
Done. There's no one who can step into her shoes. Like, who?
I mean, Becky's there now, I guess, so, you know, but
Becky's not getting the reactions Bianca does.
Like, nobody can touch Bianca. Like, Bianca is the ceiling. Like, there's no touching Bianca at this point.
Yeah, and that was so scary. And people were tweeting, like, I heard a snap. I was like, stop, you cannot speak it into existence. So what else do we have? Oh, Survivor Series. Should we talk about Ronda Rousey and Shotzi, or is everyone in agreement that was a train wreck?
I think we're all in agreement that was a train wreck, and we would all.
They tried so hard though to get it over. They had so many big spots, and they were like, "We're gonna get Ronda over. We're gonna do it," but then none of them were executed correctly.
Here's my opinion. I like Shotzi. I don't think that Shotzi was the right person to put in this match with Ronda to get Ronda over. I just don't think that she's like at that caliber, and we kind of saw that. And you know, Ronda not taking the bumps. It was a mess. Yet it was something.
I genuinely, I don't know if Ronda is not putting in effort or if she's just like not getting it if she is trying. Like, is she trying or not at this point? Because I was thinking back to her debut and I remember how much I loved it. And like her leading up to her, big match and her big feud with Becky and Charlotte, like all the stuff she did there, I was like, okay, she's a little messy, but she's brand new. So I totally expect it. But like, there's been no progression skill-wise, and if anything, she's gotten worse.
And she had all that time off, and she came back worse.
Honestly, I'm like, is she trying? Is she just like waiting out her contract, and she's gonna like, I don't know, but I just don't know how you put her on this stage with the women that were in the War Games match, and you think Ronda is worthy of being placed at that level with those women. Absolutely not. Not a single one of them. They really do want to capitalize on Ronda's mainstream fame, but honestly, I don't even think she's mainstream famous anymore.
No, they should have capitalized that on her debut, and like that was that. Like, I feel like not that nobody cares about Ronda anymore, but they're like, it's not the same.
Stop trying to make Ronda happen. It's not going to happen.
Okay, Mean Girls.
She is just, I can't, and poor Shotzi. Like, now she looks bad coming out of this.
Yeah, it did absolutely nothing for Shotzi.
No, I hated this match. This match gave me a headache. And so, like, going into the next match, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I can do this.
Okay, speaking of the next match, we had AJ Styles and Finn Balor. Now, if you know us, you know we're Bullet Club girlies for life, okay? We were so excited for this match. We love the both of them. It just fell flat.
It was so slow.
It was like watching like two senile people in a nursing home. Like I couldn't do it. Like it was so flat. Like I think I expected too much, maybe. I don't know. I love them still, but
and it's like crazy to me because they're framing this entire match as like faction wars. Yeah. Like you both led the Bullet Club. Now who's leading the best faction?
Like Bullet Club.
It's like and then you have two factions that are very clearly inspired by the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And you're like, who was a better leader, AJ or Finn? The correct answer is AJ. But moving on. It felt like the entire match was in a swimming pool. Like everyone was moving so slow. And not just like AJ and
slow mo, literally, yeah.
Not just AJ and Finn, like Gallows and Anderson and the Judgment Day too. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, who booked this match? Who decided to do this?
It felt like, and I don't know if anybody else has ever had this experience, but if you take, substances and you take too much of it, and like your body is just moving in slow mo, that's what it felt like watching this match. That's how I felt. I was like, am I okay? Am I on something?
And I really did think he was going to pick up when Finn got AJ up for the Styles clash. I was like, here we go, Bullet Club, here we go. And I really thought they were going to pop off. And then it just didn't. It was like 2 more minutes and then they were done. I was like, oh.
I am glad that AJ broke his pay-per-view curse.
So yeah.
It's been a long time coming. I'm really happy for him.
And, I tweeted that Triple H really should do anything possible to get AJ versus Kenny Omega before they both retire, because I think that's a dream match that needs to happen. But now I'm like, do I want it? And not that AJ is a bad wrestler, but if AJ's wrestling like he doesn't want to get hurt or doesn't want to take bumps, like you can't wrestle Kenny Omega like that. A super chat from our dad, Chris. Finn and AJ are both over 40. I give them leeway.
And for being over 40 years old, they wrestle well. Like that's not.
Yeah. I don't want people to think we're like shaming them or anything.
We're not age shaming.
but the fact is that even if you take away athleticism, whatever, like, yeah, Jackie, Finn is like 41, I think. I don't expect them to move like they're 20. Yeah. But what I do expect is a match that like looks good. So like if they can't move like they're 20, then you need to book the match in a way that still makes them look good with the way that they can move. And you can do things like Finn getting AJ up for the Styles Clash. And you can have callbacks to Bullet Club things. And it would have been good because in this match, we had Finn and AJ who were in the Bullet Club, and Gallows and Anderson are in the Bullet Club. So I was expecting more Bullet Club, maybe storytelling and things like that, but we really didn't. And it was just, for me. It was
Well, and I feel like if you're gonna like knock off New Japan and like basically steal their whole flow with a Bullet Club storyline, like you should have more callbacks to the Bullet Club. Like obviously you know that your audience is at least semi-familiar with it, so you can get away with it, and like the crowd would know, you know?
Yeah. And Michael Cole, to his credit, gave like a good history lesson
really
on the Bullet
good
Club.
on commentary, yeah.
And I really liked that because if in the Vince McMahon era, no chance that we would have gotten saying that they were IWGP champions, that Finn and Gallows and Anderson were like OGs in the Bullet Club, all that sort of stuff. That really did add to the match, and that's where commentary is so important in wrestling, like adding that element to the match. But I don't know. It seemed like it missed the mark. And I really do think we're going to move forward and do like a 6-man or something. But Dominic doesn't fit in Judgment Day. He doesn't fit with these guys. He looks so out of place and I hate it. Like it makes me physically like cringe seeing him in this faction.
Yeah, and I like the whole like Dominic and like Rhea thing. Mm-hmm. But like you said, just seeing him in Judgment Day, like it just doesn't make sense.
Like he's a legitimate member. Like he can hang with these two. He can't. If you okay, who's the better faction leader? You have, AJ, Gallows, Anderson, 3 experienced, great wrestlers. You have Finn and Dominic Mysterio. Listen. And Damian Priest, he's good too, but we don't need.
Damian Priest looked like he did not want to be there, though.
I don't want to be there either. You're telling me that we're squaring up against 3 wrestlers, like great New Japan wrestlers, who are like very talented and they're so deep in this Bullet Club lore. And here I am, Damian Priest, getting introduced to this Bullet Club lore as like a side piece to this. And I'm matched up with Dominic Mysterio.
Oh man.
Put Rhea there. Rhea gives more Bullet Club vibes than Dominic.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I would love that. Oh man.
Well, I had a lot more thoughts on that match than I thought I did. I feel like we need to move on, or else I'm going to keep talking about it.
Should we skip the next one entirely and just go straight to the men's war games?
Oh, if you didn't know, guys, for some reason, it's character progression for Austin Theory to fail his Money in the Bank cash-in just to win the title in this triple threat at Survivor Series. For some reason, I'm supposed to believe that that's his story and his character. It sucked. I don't know why.
If that was true, yeah, it sucks.
It's giving Vince McMahon. And I tweet, and listen, I'm not a Triple H hater. I'm not. I love NXT Black and Gold. But this is very much where he's showing the fact that he was trained and groomed for this role by Vince McMahon. Because this is something Vince McMahon would have done. Except his name would have been Theory, not Austin Theory. But if this had happened, like, he fails his cash-in and then he, like, goes out on a journey and comes back a year later and wins. Okay, that's character progression, that's story. But, like, what are we doing? I don't understand it.
And I feel like there was so much story left for Seth and the title that we're just like not gonna get now. And I think that sucks.
And I am hoping it's like we talked about before we went live. I'm hoping it's Seth Roman, but I don't think we're getting Seth Roman. I think Seth is just gonna like, I don't know what we're gonna do. Like what, Seth Bobby Lashley? Like,
again,
I just don't understand it because Seth Rollins is consistently one of the greatest parts of WWE TV, regardless of who's in charge. Like, you have something really, really great there with Seth Rollins. And Austin Theory is consistently bad. So, it is true. It's true. Let's be honest, guys. It's true. And so, I don't know. This was so bad. like objectively bad. And going into Royal Rumble, I've never felt less confident.
I know.
And because last year, even when WWE creative is at its worst, like there's something I can latch on to. Yes, and all I have now is the Bloodline. And even then, I'm not confident in the conclusion of the Bloodline story. So let's go into men's War Games.
I enjoyed the match.
I did too.
I like the story progression. In my opinion, the Bloodline story is one of the strongest in all of wrestling right now. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. I am still under the assumption that Jay is going to either turn on Roman or cost Roman in some way, and that's gonna, lead to the explosion of the Bloodline. But I think the bigger story coming out of it is definitely the Sammy KO stuff.
So a while back, there was video of Sammy and KO hugging after, I think it was a Raw.
We talked about it on
and we talked about it, and we were like, okay, so this is definitely something WWE is going to do. Sammy and KO are going to reunite, and they're going to take out the Usos. And I still believe that.
Yeah.
I still think we've been building to that this entire time with the Bloodline story. Sammy, turning on the Bloodline, reuniting with KO, or even the Bloodline turning on Sammy, and then Sammy runs back to KO to bring him in to beat the Bloodline. Whatever ends up happening, I think it's good either way. But now it's a little weird because going into Royal Rumble and looking at what Roman has ahead of him, I think it's the Usos. I think Sammy KO. I don't think there's any other way you can go. And if you do something else, then you're missing, the point of the story entirely. But Roman, it's almost like Roman and everyone else in the Bloodline are on two different wavelengths. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're not telling the same story here. And the relationship between Roman and Sammy is really, really interesting. And it's Roman's almost detached from it. And I get it. He's the tribal chief. He's above everyone else, blah, blah, blah. But you have all the belts entangled in this story. And they need to click them together. We need there's something missing here.
No, I agree. I liked what we saw on SmackDown. And just those little moments between Sammy and Roman, and him being using it as a test to see if Sammy really is for the Bloodline or if Sammy's a snake. Obviously Sammy is for the Bloodline for now. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's gonna break our hearts so bad when it inevitably happens, but
Yeah, and I think this is definitely the best thing WWE is going, and I think it's just within the last 5 years, maybe in the last 10 years, the best story they've pieced together on their own, without the fans getting someone organically over, because Daniel Bryan, that's its own world over there. Just coming out of this though, this was a great match, and there's great story progression, and I just hope that they stay the course. And I'm not confident they will. I don't know. Coming out of Survivor Series, it was a good show. It was okay, but I'm not trusting the creative vision. I think my honeymoon period with Triple H was over a long time ago, but now it's giving me Black and Gold War flashbacks. Some of the big missteps there, and having it happen on a stage this big though is I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm because I'm going back and I'm watching a lot of Black and Gold and thinking about Triple H and how he sees wrestling and all this sort of stuff. And I don't know. I don't know.
No, I definitely feel your apprehension. I think that's normal, and we should be. But let's move on to better pastures, right?
Better pastures, greener pastures,
greener pastures.
Better pastures.
My brain's a little off today, you guys.
Oh wow. Just a reminder, guys, if you want your question, your comment, your opinion, whatever it might be read on the air, make sure to submit a super chat. We will read every single one. We unfortunately cannot read every single comment that's in the chat, but we appreciate you guys being here and interacting with us and being respectful in the chat. Thank you. It's a great group. You are all very nice people. But if we finish Survivor Series, let's get into AEW. What a week for AEW. It really feels like AEW is like back in the groove, back in the thick of things. I'll let you pick what we start with though, because there's a lot of stories coming out of AEW TV this week.
I think we should start with the Elite.
And of course.
In the realm, right?
Well, okay. I'll just give a rundown in case anyone in the chat somehow hasn't heard about the Elite. So the Elite are like mixed up in this best of 7 with Death Triangle, which they are now down 2 matches in a best of 7, which is really scary. But it's because of the hammer and the whole thing. But anyway, the Elite are in Chicago because it's AEW tradition. The Dynamite before Thanksgiving is in Chicago. So the wrestling Death Triangle, and there's F the Elite chants, like they're getting booed. The crowd, granted, there are FC and Punk chants too.
There were.
And there are cheers for the Elite. But the Elite do a lot of like crazy stuff in this match. They mock CM Punk's botch buckshot lariat.
There was Kenny biting.
Kenny bit back on the forearm where he got bit by a steel, presumably. Which Kenny did the GTS. Yeah. He did the go to sleep hand thing. So like very much playing into we had this fight with CM Punk and now everyone in Chicago hates us, XYZ, which Chicago fans and a lot of people were like mad about it and like shitting on the Chicago fans. But like, guys, they're booing them because it's what's expected. And there's smiles on their faces while they're booing them.
They were having
very few people in Chicago actually legitimately wanted to beat up the Elite. Like it's all part. It's just good fun. It's good fun. I did think I think there were some parts where it was like a little much. I was like, okay, like you need to chill on the crowd, not anyone else in the match. I was a little disappointed though because I think Death Triangle, because of this big looming story with CM Punk and the Elite and like all this stuff, despite being up 2-0 in the series, it does feel like Death Triangle is sort of like falling by the wayside. And the tension between Pac and Phoenix, I get maybe that's like intentional because we're getting a Death Triangle split. But I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I do feel like it's kind of being overshadowed a little bit just because of everything going on. I liked the little poking fun. I love Petty Elite. I think that's when they're their best, and they've done this before. I don't understand why people on Twitter and otherwise act like this is anything new for them. And I think that if Punk can make little subtle jabs about it, then they have every right to as well. And I think it's all in good fun both ways. I am curious to see if they're going to be down 3-0 before they take it and go to 7.
I think so.
Because aren't the finals in California?
Yeah, and someone was saying this on Twitter. I'm sorry, maybe someone in the chat remembers who originally said this, but it's like Kenny lost to the Hammer, and who got pinned this week? Was it Matt?
Yeah.
Matt lost to the Hammer, so now Nick has to lose to the Hammer. And then I'm thinking in match 4, maybe like that's where we see Pac and Phoenix really fighting over the Hammer. Like Phoenix doesn't want to win with the Hammer. Like he wants to win the whole best of 7 like on his own merit. And I think maybe we see that dissolve there. I don't know. It's really interesting.
It is interesting. And I feel I was apprehensive about how this was going to go if they do go to 7. Like, oh, how can we, keep it fresh every week? But if we get like little subtle things in the story, like I don't mind.
No, and I really do think the best of 7 was a good plan for the Elite coming back because it really gives them something solid to hold on to and like really work to, you know, solidify themselves, get rid of any ring rust or anything they might have. And I think the Hammer story with Death Triangle was super interesting because you can tell that Pac really does want to win at any cost. And the Lucha Bros, you know, they've always been in AEW at least, I should say, they've always been sort of like willing to do anything to win, but like they're also at their core good people. Like Phoenix bringing out his kid, and when they beat the Young Bucks at All Out last year, they brought their kids out. So they're like wholesome. They're very much. I think they're very similar to the Young Bucks in that way. So it's really interesting to see the tension there. I do think the Elite go down by 3 matches. And I tweeted this and I'm like still kind of like working through it. But I almost wonder if Hangman is involved somehow. The Elite go down, 3-0, and then maybe they get a pep talk from Hangman and they like work it out and they figure out a way to win. I don't know, maybe something like that. But I thought this match was really great, and I really, really do enjoy seeing the Elite back in AEW. I think they really do add something. And I didn't mind the CM Punk references. A lot of people were mad and they thought it was childish or whatever, especially because Kenny Omega in that Sports Illustrated interview had said fans need to let it go. But I almost feel like they had to. Yeah. If they showed up in Chicago and tried to pretend that nothing happened, I don't know.
People would have been mad either way. They didn't address it. They did address it.
Yeah, and we got a lot of memes out of it, especially the Kenny biting thing. That was
so many. I made so many Thanksgiving memes with that picture, you guys.
You really did. It was great.
We were in our group chat just sending the picture to each other back and forth.
Being in a group chat with me and Haley is a hellish experience.
It's so bad, you guys.
We take over the group chat and everyone just politely lets us do it. But I don't want to expose our group chat antics too much, but I also think on being the Elite at the beginning, there was like a little bit where they were like, we're going to Chicago. We don't know how we're going to be received, but it's going to be fun and entertaining regardless. So I think a lot of this heel work that they did was improvised on the spot. I think they realized when they came out to the boos, they were like, okay, so Death Triangle is going to get cheered. We're going to get booed, but let's play into it. Let's give up like something memorable. Let's make this, the highlight of Dynamite. And I think it was.
One of my favorite things is mostly since they've come back, Nick can't like wipe the smile off his face, even though he should be like straight face and like me. Like he just can't stop smiling when people are booing at him. And I love it so much. I think it's so funny.
I loved on Being the Elite, they come out and they're getting booed, and Nick and Kenny are looking around smiling, and Matt's like angry Matt. He's like immediately in heel mode, who he does. And he like struts in the ring. Our Dr. John Chris with the super chat, he says, I have to go. Love you both and the show.
Love you
we
too.
Love you too. Thank you for coming and joining us for a few minutes. I know it's been a lot this show, but I think this has been one of my favorite tag talks yet. Simply because I have a lot to say.
And we always have a lot to say, but like specifically this week.
Yes, this has been a long week. I traveled back from New Jersey. I had a layover in where was I? Charlotte Airport.
Oh.
So I had like a 2 hour 30-minute layover, something like that. And there's so many Karens because everyone's traveling for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was a lot, but I had a good time at Full Gear, so it's okay. But back to AEW. In other AEW news, especially kind of concerning the Elite, 10 of the Dark Order turned heel in a devastating fashion. Poor Negative One was sobbing. He was crying.
He needs an award for that. I love Negative One. It crushed my heart. Like, I was okay. I was like, oh, like, this sucks. Like, I hate this. But then Negative One came out, and I was like, oh, my God.
And I'm happy it happened because I feel like 10 needs to form, or I guess he's not 10 anymore, Preston Vance needs to form his identity in AEW that isn't just, like, Brody Lee's protege. As much as that will always be part of his identity, and I think he'll always want that to be part of his identity. But then I started thinking about it because, of course, Preston Vance helped Roosh, and Roosh is in a faction with Andrade. So I don't know what Preston Vance is doing in this faction. I don't know how he met these guys. I don't know. But
I think everybody's just getting thrown into it, though. Like, it's such a random group.
But, like, I'm kind of into it. Like, I don't know where Andrade stands with AEW, because I think it's been a little weird. He's had ups and downs, and I don't think he's ever peaked in AEW like people expected him to. Roosh, though, Roosh is really over. I think over a lot more than Andrade, as weird as that is. Mm-hmm. I wonder if, like, either this is going to be a trio thing, or it's Roosh and Preston Vance moving forward, and Andrade will be worked back in at some point. I don't know what's going on there. Regardless, though, I kind of like it. I like this little weird faction.
Look, anything that gets Butcher Blade and Bunny on my TV, I'm for it. I don't care.
Period. I love Penelope and the Bunny coming out and just, like, being part of the women's division and being intimidating in the women's division. There's a lot going on in the women's division, and we won't get too much into it because we could do like a 2-hour episode just on that. But, like, finally the light at the end of the tunnel for the women's division. But back to Dark Order, like, and I told you this before, I really do think it's building to, you know, the complete dissolution of the Dark Order, but then coming back together with maybe all the original members. I don't know where Stu Grayson and, you know, Alan Angel stand with that. But hopefully Anna Jay too, because I need her in there. And I really hope that that's the story we're telling. And maybe Hangman's involved in that reunion somehow. I don't know. But, you know, now we have Silver Reynolds and Uno, who could be trios, could be just, I don't know what they're doing. They could start trying to recruit new people. I don't know. But it would be a shame if they got rid of the Dark Order.
Like, realistically, I guess they could do Silver and Reynolds in the tag division. I would love to see that. I think that they deserve a run. But then, like, what do you do with Uno? You know?
Ryan says Colt Cabana. I don't know if we can still count Colt Cabana as Dark Order.
Yeah.
I don't know. He had that match, which was basically, it wasn't even about Colt Cabana. It was just about, like, F.U. CM Punk. He had that match with Chris Jericho. But I don't know. I think he's ROH bound, and I think that, I don't know. I think he's kind of, like, out of the Dark Order just by proxy because of that. But Dark Order, if you can't get rid of them, -1 is there. He has to, like, grow up and be part of the Dark Order. Yeah. So we can't. And if Tony Khan does it, I will simply protest.
As we should. You know, we're going to make big signs. I will protest outside every show.
I'll sell all my belongings and I'll just follow AEW around the country. And I will have my Bring Back the Dark Order sign.
As we should.
As we should. But other big AEW news this week. House of Black being awesome again. Listen, House of Black, you know, Julia Hart is, like, not the leader, but she is. Okay.
Totally. Literally.
Let's get that out of the way. If you disagree, we're not watching the same television program because she is. But Malachi Black looked so cool. It was like when he debuted against Cody and was just, like, so unpredictable, but also so violent and just dominating. Like, he was that again. And just seeing House of Black back together, hopefully all healthy and happy. I don't know. I loved that segment.
And I love that we're kind of leaning more into, like, the culty side of things. And, like, we're spooky. Like, and, like, leaning into the spooky thing. Like, I think that, you know, I know we said maybe a couple episodes back that when they do come back, they definitely need, like, a reinvention, and I think that we're seeing that, and I love it. And I do think that the person benefiting most from it is Julia, but like you said, Malachi looked like a star. Like, he looks like a star. I love Malachi Black. I can't wait to see what they do. But I think now you almost have to, like, put them in anything that you can. Like, just throw everything at them. Every title, just every opportunity, just throw it at them.
I think they're going to burn through the best friends quick. I think they're probably going to move on to another trios. I don't know who. I think we're still building House of Black versus the Elite. I think that's still our end goal, because I think the confrontation between Malachi and Kenny is going to be gold, and I think that'll really put butts in seats for Revolution or wherever they decide to do it. I think that's still the goal, and I think AEW is building to that. But in the meantime, House of Black is going to do some really good stuff, and I'm really excited for it, because when AEW a few months back did that backstage shakeup and they hired new people for things, or promoted people rather, and they hired people. It did a lot for the women's division. I think Madison Rayne undeniably is doing great things for the women's division. Give her her flowers for that, because my God. But I also think with like the more creative people in AEW, like Malachi, I think it's clear between Malachi and House of Black's last match and this segment, this run-in, I think there's been like something has been worked out. And I think Malachi is really like taking the reins on it a lot more than he was before. And I think Tony Khan is learning to really trust the talent that he has and let them do a lot of these really creative things, both in the women's division, clearly, but I also think here. And I don't know, I'm so excited for House of Black, and Blackpool Combat Club being a mass, like this is a source of stability for us.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about the BCC.
And what a crazy week in AEW when the BCC is like not the biggest story, but the BCC guys, what the heck is going on? William Regal turns on Moxley, and then Moxley's like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat him up. Like I'm gonna get my revenge." Natural, right? But then Danielson is like, "Please don't." Like, and then he hits Moxley. He's like, I'm sorry.
Listen, that eventual Danielson turn is going to be so good.
It's going to be so good, but the BCC, I'm still mourning it. Like, I know it's coming, but like, I had visions for the BCC.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have to watch poor Claudio join the JAS. Wheeler Yuta is going to turn on everybody and like go to Ring of Honor and do his thing. And then we have Moxley and Danielson, where Moxley's not going to get his vacation yet because he has to deal with Danielson and Regal.
Poor Mox. Literally every single time like he drops a title or like whatever, we're like, oh, finally he can go take a break, and then he gets dragged right back in.
Like, literally us before Full Gear were like, MJF has to win because Moxley needs his vacation. That was the only reason.
0 vacation time.
Nothing.
Not on my watch.
Listen, if I was Moxley, I'm simply pushing Danielson out of the way.
The fuck out.
Like, move, and I'm gonna go fight William Regal. Like, I feel like that's just common sense, Moxley. He slapped you in the face.
Yeah, exactly. In his little jeans and his like little Washington, Seattle like look. Please, Brian.
I'm team Mox in that. The BCC is really cool. I'm sad that Claudio's going to be, I mean, maybe not, but I'm presuming he's going to be forced to join the JAS. But listen, I hope once he's in the JAS, he turns everyone against Chris Jericho and they all beat him up. Like, so good.
He's got to be the rat on the inside.
He has to. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh my God. AEW, wow, it really is back. It really does feel like it's back.
Mm-hmm.
But more AEW news. FTR and Top Flight had a great match, guys.
They did.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm so happy and excited that we get to see Top Flight in a position like this. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a great match. I would love to see more from these two teams down the line, like maybe even a storyline of some sort. Mm-hmm. I think that they could produce some really good stuff together.
No, I definitely agree. And I like FTR being on TV and having great matches because it really keeps the fans invested in FTR. Mm-hmm. And with, at the end of the match, of course, we had the Ass Boys coming out, which they're seemingly endless feud with FTR. Graham with a super chat says Regal returning to WB. You know, Paul's going to offer money. Regal still has time on his contract with AEW. A multi-year contract, so he's not going anywhere unless it gets released, which is not going to happen because he's still integral to this BCC story, especially with Danielson. So Regal's not going to WWE anytime soon. But back to FTR. I think the Ass Boys are going to be their little like link into a few of the Acclaims because of Billy Gunn. I don't know how they would work it, but first of all, I'm so sick of the Ass Boys. I think they are so bad. It not like in the ring. Listen, I think they've progressed a lot, and I think they should get their credit for that. But them as these heels who are just like always inserting themselves where they don't belong and like shooting way above their pay grade. I'm not into it, but I am into the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed versus FTR, like goofballs versus like real serious wrestlers who are like so dedicated and so passionate. That's good. And I want that. So the quicker we get past the Ass Boys, the sooner we can get to that.
I'm just thinking back to it had to have been like one of the first few tag talks. I don't even know. But we used to be so anti-Ass Boys. And then like there was like a little period of time where we were like, yeah, like we're coming around. And now we're anti-Ass Boys again.
We were coming around.
You know, peaks and valleys of the Ass Boys.
And you know what? Looking back, it's just because we felt bad for them because we're bad like them.
Just pitying them.
Yeah, it was pity. It was pity. That was all it was.
The daddy issues, 100%.
Anyway, well, this match was really great, and I really think AEW, the tag team division, is really bouncing back from the summer. Because this summer was rough for AEW, especially for tag team wrestling. But I think they're really bouncing back. Ryan says, I like the Ass Boys. We know you do, bud. That's so Ryan of you.
Listen, we may not like the Ass Boys, but this is a safe place for Ass Boys fans.
If you're an Ass Boys fan, I'm fine with that. But just know that I despise them.
It's okay, you know.
It's okay. And Top Flight also. I've liked Top Flight. Darius is back. I like that they're being, introduced again as a team because Dante, for so long, has just been Dante Martin, singles on his own. So I'm really excited to see Top Flight doing stuff again as a team. I would like to see more Private Party because Private Party on, AEW's other shows like Dark and Elevation and, all those sort of things has been doing this Matt Hardy story. And I think it's interesting. And I would like to see more of that on, if not Dynamite, then Rampage. Yeah. To really, really because we have MJF and Jamie Hayter as our singles champs, to really start doing that for the tag division. Because you have the Acclaimed, but there's no other homegrown tag teams that are, next in line, so to speak. So I would really like to see them do that.
Me too. I agree. I love Private Party, so I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think that we do need to run back the Young Bucks match eventually.
With Private Party?
Yeah.
Well, Private Party and FTR.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's like we have a Young Bucks bucket list here.
Yeah, FTR first priority.
Yeah.
Private Party, whenever, but yeah.
Whenever. And it feels like every week we're talking about, like, Tony Khan. You need to do this, like, ASAP.
And, like, every person knows he needs to do it.
Because if anything, Brawl Out has proven that the Elite can be taken away from AEW like that. So, figure it out, Tony. Okay? Okay, all right, we did Survivor Series, did House of Black, Sting, Darby, and Muda.
Listen, I think this is so interesting, and I'm so happy for Darby. I don't know. I just love to see him like live out like these like dream match type scenarios. I just think it's great.
Yeah, and I like to see, now with the COVID vaccine being available and like, countries opening up, especially Japan, who had such strong like rules about it. Mm-hmm. I really like seeing wrestlers, especially from AEW, going into Japan and doing stuff over there. Wrestle Kingdom confirmed Omega versus Ospreay. FTR confirmed going to be there. Don't know who they're wrestling yet. So I really love I always love interpromotional stuff, but I love that it's not like branded as Forbidden Door. As much as I loved Forbidden Door, don't get me wrong. But like just dream match stuff and things like that. And I think this is one of those situations. Darby being thrown in there, and when I first saw it, I was like, I was like, okay. But Darby, he deserves to be mixed up with these legends to really, get that rub, like get himself over to this audience. Because I do think Darby Allin has needed something for a long time since he lost his TNT title. So this is like something that could really help him out a lot.
No, I agree. I was all for Sting and Muta just when it was them. And then Darby got added and I was like, ooh, I'm down for this. I love whenever we can involve like the next crop of stars.
Yeah, at first I was like, don't put Darby in my dream match fantasy books thing. But now I'm here for it. Darby deserves it. And Darby can do a lot more in the ring than these two simply because he's a lot younger.
So true.
So true. And even though Sting will try, Sting will be like, oh, you want me to do a moonsault off this like 50-foot like railing? I'll totally do it.
Sting is a madman. Like, I love Sting though.
I love Sting, but he worries me. And like I think back, and like Sting was a big part of my childhood, and I watched a lot of WCW. I watched a lot of TNA. So like Sting was like my dude. And now in AEW, every time he does something, I'm like, please don't do that. But he's, for his age, he's like so resilient. He
looks great.
Yeah.
He can do more than I could, and I'm 22.
That's so true.
Over 60.
I would never want to wrestle Sting because Sting would kick my ass.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So shout out to Sting.
You know what? Maybe that's why Darby's not turning on Sting.
He's like,
he's getting his ass beat by Sting.
We have been on the Darby Allin heel turn train for months. Before we even mentioned it to anyone else, we have been talking about it because I feel like it's the natural next step for Darby Allin to really, get experience with his character and like really form himself into something multi-dimensional. And I also think he can't be with Sting forever.
Yeah.
And so like if someone's gonna like turn on someone, I hope it's Darby on Sting. Mm-hmm. And I just think, I don't know, you got to do it. This is an interesting question. Do you put Sting and Darby in the next Blood and Guts? No, because I'm hoping the next Blood and Guts is a women's Blood and Guts. Team Saraya versus Team Britt.
Oh, that'd be so good.
I think you have to. I think there is no way Saraya having a team of 5 people on her Dynamite debut and Britt having 5 people was a coincidence. There's no way.
And I think after seeing that like street fight match with it was Bunny, Penelope,
and TJ.
Yeah. I mean, it was so good.
Yeah.
So I would love to see. And I mean, Britt too, like, she's had her moments. I love that.
Yeah. And and a lot of people were mad that Britt didn't turn on Jamie at Full Gear. But listen, Britt is still taking the mic from Jamie, not letting her talk, still overshadowing Jamie. The story's still there. Like, you guys, you just have to read into the nuances of it. But yeah, I'm super into everything going on in the women's division between Athena and, Kiera Hogan getting fired from the baddies. Mm-hmm. And Sasha Banks still out and about doing whatever. Women's wrestling is like...
We love women's wrestling. Always.
We love women's wrestling. This is a tag team wrestling show. But, we like women.
And if you know the lore of me and Kiley, we've done women's wrestling shows in the past.
Kiley, stop.
No, I did. That's true. Like,
we did. We did a women's wrestling show. Anyway, back on track. AEW had a heck of a week. WWE had a good week too, but a weaker pay-per-view. But that's just like, a lot of people love Survivor Series, so that's just like my opinion on it.
Yeah.
So. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was. That's how I felt.
So we're coming up on an hour. That's normally when we wrap. Haley, I need your final thoughts and I need your plugs. Where can people find you?
My final thoughts. I I don't have final thoughts this week. They might be a little too controversial, so I'm going to keep them to myself. But you guys can.
What if we shied away from controversy on this show?
Listen, I can't afford controversy right now, so you guys can follow me on Twitter at Haley_. Yeah, I do writing and editing stuff for Nerds and Beyond. A lot of like wrestling and nerdy stuff. So if you guys like that, I'm your gal. You can check me out over there. I also have my Substack, which is the Wrestling Muse. It's linked on my Twitter. It's free to subscribe. So if you aren't subscribed, you guys should. Kylie, what are your final thoughts and plugs?
I'm really excited for AEW Dynamite this week, especially because the Elite story. I want to see the House of Black on TV again. I want to see FTR on TV again. I think Tony Storm is doing great stuff. I want to see more progression. I want to see AEW really get back into the rhythm, which I think they are. As for WWE, I want to see Triple H fix a lot of these issues that we talked about in the show. And I think he can. I think Triple H is very capable of it. And I think there's a lot of great people around Triple H who can help him with that. I don't want him to shed like the burden of the Vince McMahon teachings. I want him to become his own person. And it won't happen this week, but I hope it happens soon. Those are my closing thoughts. Wrestling is in a great place, but you can follow me on Twitter at Fuller_Kiley. But everything I'm doing there, including Haley and I have been messing around with AI art recently. So you can go check out my Twitter for our art, our little AI.
I deleted mine because it was giving people nightmares, but
you tweet it again. It was
no.
So good. But if you want to see that, see my Twitter for that. What else? I'm on TikTok. I don't know what my TikTok handle is. I'll tweet it. I'm on Hive. My Hive is the opposite of this. It's Kylie Fuller. Yeah. Wait, what else? Oh, I'm totally missing all the plugs. My brain is just not there. You can Tag Talk is every Monday at 3. It's last week we had a different time, but this is our normal time on Fightful Overbooked every week. So you can come see us. We will most likely be here every Monday at 3. You can also follow at Romantic Wrestle. That is Romanticized Wrestling. That is me and Haley and our friend Kyle's little channel where we post whenever we want. I'm sorry, but it's just like we're busy. And Kyle has a full-time job, so he's busy. But we do our best. And also, Haley and I are going to do, I'm putting this out there, so now you have to do it. Haley and I are going to do a wrestling gift guide. I really want to do it, and now me saying it means that Haley has to do it too. So we'll put that on Romanticized Wrestling, so you can see my Twitter about that. Also, you can, if you're watching this after we go live, thank you. You can like this video. You can comment below. You can also find the audio on all your podcast platforms. Subscribe to Fightful Overbooked here. Subscribe to Fightful Overbooked there. Lots of great content on this channel. Did I hit all the plugs? I think. Oh,
the Tag Talk Awards.
Oh my God, the Tag Talk Awards. We're doing Tag Talk Awards.
We are.
Some of you, like looking in the chat, I know for a fact some of you have already done yours. But if you want to be part of the Tag Talk Awards, the link is on my Twitter. The link is also on Haley's Twitter. We're doing end of year awards. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, we are always so focused on interactivity on this show. So make sure you take the time to do that. Just a couple minutes. It'll be, and you know, it's a lot of fun.
It's like 10 questions about tag team wrestling. Very easy stuff.
Easy. That's how it should be. I think now we hit all the plugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us this week. I know it was a little bit longer than normal, but again, guys, we had a lot to talk about. We had a lot more than normal to talk about. So thank you for really, if you made it this far, sticking out with us to the end. And we'll see you guys next week.